Hi everyone, welcome to this video, and in this video I'll be going through general tips and tricks when it comes to Cambridge IGCSE Geography. These tips will range from general revision tips or actual tips when you're in the exam hall sitting your exam papers. So my first tip is that each point is 1 mark, and this also applies to explain questions. What I mean by that is each point does not need to be developed. So when it comes to Cambridge IGCSE, all they want you to do is just state 5 points. Well, this might be weird because in other exam boards such as edXL or AQA, they require you to develop your point, explain it, and link it back to the question. However, here they just want you to state your points. However, I do recommend that you do not just directly state it in a bullet point style writing. I would still recommend continuous sentences and just to develop your points a little bit so that you can show the examiner that you know what you're talking about. For example, in this question, explain why large numbers of immigrants may have positive impacts on the area which they are moving to. So here, my point is that it provides a skilled workforce. That's it. That's my point. And then my small development is that which can boost the economy. So that is all you need for 1 mark. And you kind of just like repeat that process each time for 4 more times until you reach 5 marks. So I wrote in my next point that migrants can increase cultural diversity. That's my point. And my development is leading to culture exchange. And I'll give you guys some time to read the rest of the answer. Okay, so hopefully you guys have read through that and understand how Cambridge IGCSE wants you to structure your answer. Okay, my next tip is to revise all topics for paper 1 and do not skip topics, even case studies. So the reason that I find this problematic is because say you, in the natural environment section B of your paper 1, you did not revise rivers because you didn't feel like it. Even though you get option of 2, you chose to not revise 1. So say one topic was rivers and the other was coast that came up in the exam paper. So the problem with that is you really wouldn't have a choice with which one to do as you're forced to do coasts. And the problem with that is that the questions may be quite difficult for coasts more than rivers. This is just a scenario, by the way. So I would recommend that you revise everything so that you have the advantage of choosing the easiest question that you can answer and hopefully gain more marks on. The next one is past papers are your best friends. Questions always repeat, especially case studies. So you might hear this a lot in your other subjects, but I just really want to reinforce that past papers truly are a lifesaver. In my exam, when I sat my exam in June 2024, around 90% of the questions that I saw in the paper, I've actually seen before when doing past papers. So that just shows how they kind of recycle the questions and just kind of rephrase it a little bit for the exam paper, especially case studies. Case studies, there's only so many things they can ask you. So my top tip is to just do loads of past papers, and that way you should be fine when it comes to your exam. Okay, so the second part is generally to do with case studies. So my first tip is that for case studies, highlight whatever they want from you in the question. I think this is very useful because it's so easy to misread what they ask for you in a case study and can therefore have a tremendous impact on your answer, and it can make you easily lose marks. So, for example, here in this question, for a named country you have studied, describe the problems caused by overpopulation. So the main, I guess, command terms I would highlight is describe. Here, that's the command term, binary not command terms. And then I would also highlight problems because that's what they want you to talk about. Caused by overpopulation, because that's a key term that you need to be talking about in this question and referring back to it over and over again. So yeah. And this is also a tip, but it's kind of an optional tip, I guess. So feel free to change your case studies if you don't feel confident with them. This is because Cambridge IGCSE is a global exam board and they recognize a lot of case studies around the world. So if you feel that you're not confident with the notes you have for your case studies, you should change them so that you are talking about something you are more confident with and are more likely to score more marks on. So now I'll be going through the structure of a 7-marker essay, which you'll do 3 in paper 1, and in paper 2 you don't have any. So yeah. So you do 1 based on each section. So 1 based on population, another based on the natural environment. So it could be from rivers, coasts, earthquakes, vegetation, climate, etc. And you also do 1 from economic development. So that's tourism, environmental risks, industry, water, energy, and all those topics in that theme. So the structures. So I would recommend following the Peel structure and doing it 3 times when writing your 7-marker essay. But before you get into that Peel structure, I would recommend a small introduction. It does not have to be long at all. It only has to be 2 sentences. So maybe you could just give the geographical context of the country which is your case study. So what I wrote here is Bangladesh is a country located in South Asia with a population of extremely 170 million. There are many implications caused by overpopulation. It just needs to be short and sweet, nothing too fancy. So that there would do as an introduction. So for the main body paragraphs, this is the structure you're going to want to follow. So the first thing you want to do is state your point. So I'll be highlighting this as I go along with the structure. So over here in what I wrote 1 problem caused by overpopulation in Bangladesh is traffic congestion. That would be me stating my point. The next thing you need to do is evidence. So that's just dumping your place-specific info, data, and etc. So over here, I mentioned that this is particularly seen in the capital city Dhaka, where the average car speed is 4 kilometers per hour. So I would say this is place specific. So I'm gonna highlight this here. And by the way, you do not need to dump a lot of place-specific information into 1 paragraph. You only need 1 piece per paragraph. So in total, you only need like 3 plus the introduction, which is your like opening statement. Like for example, here I mentioned the population is 170 million. So you do not need that much, but keep in mind that this is just 1 question. So they could have asked you to explain the causes of overpopulation. So you might need a different set of place-specific information when it comes to that. But for that, I'll be going into more detail when I actually make a video on the population unit. So yeah. Anyways, for explanation, this is where you develop your point and you explain how it is relevant to the question. So in this case, I said this can cause problems because it increases air pollution from carbon dioxide emissions, and it is mentally draining to be stuck in traffic on a daily basis. So that there would be my explanation, because I'm explaining how my point and evidence interlink together to have a negative impact a negative problem of overpopulation. So I'm going to highlight this in blue. And then the last and probably the easiest one in my opinion is link. So you would want to close the paragraph by linking it to the question. So the question here is describe the, it's not really a question, it's just a statement. Describe the problems caused by overpopulation. So I said here, which can lead to negative social, economic, and environmental impacts of overpopulation. So you're just kind of rephrasing the statement, or you can just directly copy it down. It just shows the examiner that like you know what you're talking about, and like you're not like just waffling on something really random. So I'm gonna highlight this in pink. Oops. Okay. And yeah, that is the basic structure that you need for a 7-marker essay, and you basically repeat that process 3 times. So here, if you guys can pause the video if you guys want to read the last 2 paragraphs, but it's essentially the same structure as this first one. Anyways, that is it for today. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.